We are approaching one of my favorite times for any Final Fantasy XIV patch cycle. The end. But why is that? Why is the end of a patch cycle, or at least the second half, so much fun and exciting to me? Well, person who probably didn't ask, let me tell you, because we are about to get into the hypest part for any Final Fantasy XIV fan. The marketing for the next expansion. It's time to put any smart consumer practices aside for the moment and just give in to the hype. Because on July 28th and 29th, they are holding an in-person fan festival called FanFest in Vegas, and it's a part of a 3-show tour, essentially. There'll be one in London in October, and the final will be in Tokyo next January. It is normally alongside these fan fests that they reveal information for the next expansion, and it's usually revealed in multiple parts. Normally we get a cinematic that will be incomplete and receive additional parts to it later on to fill in some blanks, or just overall add to it. We learn about the design direction for the game, various new mechanics or features and questlines, etc., and we learn about a few of the new zones that we will be seeing. It's their way to reveal information for the game. But before we get into 7.0 speculation, let's talk about 6.3 for a minute, because that will be dropping on the 10th in a little over a week. With 6.3, we get the standard 14 patch content. MSQ, Trial, Dungeon, and since it's an odd patch, we get a new Alliance raid, and since it's a patch now, and this seems to be the new normal, we also get a new Unreal Trail as well. We get various quest lines and a new ultimate this time around with Omega, but that should be the last one for Endwalker. Now, I don't personally raid ultimate, but I find it fun to watch the various groups race to be the first to clear it, and I like following along to find out all the new cool mechanics and set pieces they come up with for the raid. Now, I have my own theories for where the story will go for the patch and for 7.0 as a whole, and I'll leave a link in the description down below if you want to hear them. But I feel like we're in for quite a few changes to the game with 7.0. We are getting a bit of a graphical update come 7.0, so I imagine with the fan fests, one of the things they're going to focus on is showing us some of those graphical updates. We already got a few with a couple of the older dungeons getting a bit of an overhaul, and I find the biggest improvement to be coming from the lighting. In fact, I'm pretty sure that's the only thing they really changed outside of mechanics in terms of the graphics for the old dungeons. And honestly, better lighting can go a long way to create a certain aesthetic or elicit a certain feeling from a location. And now that we have the longer patch cycle than we used to, having it being elongated to 4 months between patches with an extra week for New Year's and summer, I imagine we'll get the remaining patches this year. Unless I'm just horrendous with math. 6.0 should be sometime in April, with 6.5 sometime in August, maybe early September. And it's honestly throwing me off a little bit, because normally, the 0.5 and 0.55 patch coincides somewhat with the final FanFest, but it seems to be even before the London one this go around. I think 6.55 will be a little bit after London, maybe? Maybe I can't do math, that's possible. But the Tokyo one's in January, so all the patches for Endwalker should be out by then. Unless, we get some kind of delay with a patch or something. Maybe it's their way to compensate for the delays with the Endwalker release, or, 2020, or they would just prefer us to have the context of the full patch cycle story before the final FanFest. Maybe that's a direction shift, and honestly, I wouldn't mind it. Because funnily enough, when we get those more extended trailers like they tend to do with the later FanFest, where they'll add more to the trailers we already have, the cinematic, we should have the full context from 0.5 and 0.55. Unlike with Endwalker, where 5.55 hadn't released yet with the final cinematic, so when we went into 0.55, we knew of Fortuno, and that we knew he was going to be a part of the story in some capacity. I feel like one of the biggest selling points they're going to go for with 7.0 as well will be trying to treat it as this new period in Final Fantasy XIV, with 6.0 ending the Heidelin Zodiac storyline. They can really probably lean into certain aspects of development that they were reluctant to do so before. And I agree with Jesse Cox on this issue, where when Endwalker first released, he predicted that, hey, now we can have NPCs follow us around during the main story quest for certain quest lines, and they've been renovating and iterating on the trust system. You can combine these two things together and give us trust in the open world. I do kind of expect that to be a feature with 7.0, because if you recall back in a while to the 68th live letter, they really wanted to hone in on this idea of leaning into the game being capable of being a multiplayer RPG, but also a single-player RPG. And if you iterate on the trust system, you combine it with the NPCs following us in the main story in the open world, we could realistically have an old-school Final Fantasy party following us around for the main story of 7.0, which would be a wacky thing to see for an MMO. Because if we want to just put our heads in the clouds for a second and really dream up a couple of scenarios for this, you could have it so you can have these large party-like encounters in the open world, almost Bajja-esque, or maybe even Eureka-esque, just in the open world, and you don't have to worry about people not being able to complete it by themselves, because if they don't have a party of their friends or buddies to form a group with, they can just form the group with NPCs, or the trust characters, and do it like that. And you can really lean into the open world design philosophies there and expand the open world content that is there with this game. And I feel I would really like to see them lean into those aspects with it. Make the world feel more dangerous, more diverse, give us various new ways to interact with it. Hell, imagine us having ways to maneuver around the map utilizing the party mechanic. Like if we brought a Stinian around with us, then we could jump to really high places. That would be a really cool idea. Would become kind of irrelevant the moment we got flying, but you can lean into it in other ways. Like if you bring Thancred along, or if you play a ninja, you can stealth around certain places. Really lean into class identity, and have these trust characters have their own identities and give you various utilities and tools to navigate the open world. Now, is Final Fantasy XIV built for this? That's a question up for debate. And whether or not they really want to lean into this kind of content for the open world, I'm not sure. They might relegate it to a Bajja-esque zone they may do for 7.0 or the 7.x series, but I would really like and appreciate if they spend some time to iterate on the open world and make it feel more rewarding for exploring it, not just for gathering or for the occasional fate that may spawn. Like, iterate on those systems, make it feel really fun to just navigate the world, you know? And there's so many directions they can go, and I don't expect for them to turn the game into a game that isn't Final Fantasy XIV, but innovation, iteration, throwing new ideas at the wall. That's what I really want to see with 7.0. Just throwing ideas at the wall and seeing what sticks. Taking ideas from the past, maybe combining them together and seeing how they work in the open world. Even if this new, hypothetical party mechanic is just to tackle various high-level fates or high-level mobs in the open world, or give us more dungeon-esque experiences out in the open world, I think that'd be a really cool direction pivot for the series, and for 7.0. So, the marketing for the next expansion will be interesting to see, just where their heads are, and where they want to take this game in the future. 2023 will see Final Fantasy XIV enter another transitionary period, where a lot of eyes will be drawn to 7.0, as we probably won't have a ton of information for the next expansion while playing through the final patches, since the releases are predominantly before the second FanFest. On the Endwalker side of things, if the roadmap from the 68th live letter, which I'll leave a link to in the description down below, is still to be believed, we have 2 more variant dungeons coming as well. I really want to see if they will pivot the reward structure for variants in the future, as that seems to be the main source of critique I've seen for them. Outside of that, and some Island Sanctuary additions and maybe a couple additions for the new Deep Dungeon, I see the remaining patches following a very similar structure that we've come to expect with the Final Fantasy XIV patches as a whole, and the Endwalker ones. I don't see anything wild being added, is what I'm saying. But the raids will probably be solid, the stories will be interesting, the main story as well seems to be in a intriguing place where anything can go from here, and I'm really excited to see where it goes. And honestly, right now, I'm satisfied and looking forward towards what the game will manage to put out for 2023. I imagine we won't see 7.0 till early 2024. Maybe we could see December, but if they follow a 6-month gap between 6.5 and 7.0, then we probably won't even see it till February, maybe March. And that's if it doesn't get a delay like Endwalker did. So 2023 for the game will largely be one of anticipation and finality. Endwalker will be coming to a close in terms of its content output, while we are being hyped up and mentally pushed towards what will be coming in 2024. I'm really interested to see where they're gonna take the cinematic for 7.0. I imagine it's gonna be Meracidia. Like I said, I covered that in my theory prediction down below in the description. Like, God, imagine how beautiful Meracidia could be in a cinematic or something. Oh, plus not to mention we have Final Fantasy XVI, and I believe the Final Fantasy VII Remake Part 2 coming out as well. So, yeah, 2023 is kind of jam-packed for Final Fantasy content, isn't it? I'm excited. Hope you are. Hope you're looking forward to it. Leave a comment down below with your thoughts, your opinions on the state of Final Fantasy XIV, and what you hope to see from the game with 2023. What do you want to see with the main story, various raids? I want to hear your thoughts and hear your opinions. And right before we wrap up, I think class design for 7.0 will be by far the thing that will have my eye. I'm so interested to see if they want to pivot away from this 2-minute rotation philosophy they've really dived headfirst with in Endwalker, and just where they're going to take the jobs from here, and also what the new jobs for 7.0 could be. So leave a comment down below with your theories on that as well. I'd love to hear your thoughts. And if you liked the video, please leave a like and subscribe. I really hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, please leave a like and subscribe. It really helps the channel out and helps support future content, and I greatly appreciate it. I'm Jmulls of Jmulls Gaming. Bye-bye, everybody.